Been a while, huh? We're just gonna get into it with the Charlie Spring Part 3. I'm sorry, I'm tired. I don't have a good intro today. So, like at the end of season 2, Charlie is wanting to tell Nick that he loves him, but he's too nervous to do it. And I think a lot of people have been there before, haven't they? He thinks that it will ruin their relationship, and he even has like a vision of it happening and Nick getting uncomfortable, like it's too soon to say it. I mean, they have been dating since like April, yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know when it's too soon, to be fair. So yeah, but we'll get back to that in a little bit. But Charlie's eating disorder is getting worse because while they're all at the beach, they all get Okay, if anyone American is watching this, I don't care. Okay, this is what we call it. They get a chippy, and Charlie doesn't eat any of it, and even Nick has to like be like, we're just full from lunch, I guess. And Nick even talks to him about it when they're in the water, but Charlie's like in denial about it. Charlie thought that Nick was gonna say "I love you" as well, but when he mentions that he thinks he has an eating disorder, and Charlie gets like, "Oh no, I don't. It's fine. No, I don't have an eating disorder. No." He does get a bit annoyed, but like he just puts it behind him because he doesn't want to be like in that mindset of where he has one. So anyway, when they get back to Nick's house, this is when, because I don't know if I mentioned this, but this is Nick's going on holiday for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, 3 weeks I think, yeah. So Charlie thinks that this is like the last chance he'll have to say "I love you" to him. So he does it when Nick's in the shower, because yeah, Nick takes a shower, and then that's when Charlie knocks on the door and then says "I love you," and he thinks that he's messed everything up and just goes home. But to his surprise, Nick chases after him, and Nick says "I love you" back to him. So yeah, he didn't expect that to happen. I definitely didn't cry at that moment. Definitely not. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to, thinking that they've messed things up by saying "I love you" too soon. He does start researching on eating disorders, though, after what Nick said, but he just feels like he can't tell his parents about it because he's afraid that they'll think that he's making up for attention, or that it only happens to girls, which, like, it doesn't. Anyone can have an eating disorder. That's a whole tangent for another video. And yeah, it is quite a shame, He even starts isolating himself from all of his friends as well and doesn't read any of their texts. In fact, he leaves them on read, yeah. So that's really sad. They get a little bit annoyed at him with this. Well, Isaac does, but that's for Isaac's video. Okay, I'm going to talk about this more in Nick's video, but I do want to quickly mention how when Charlie finally admits to himself that he has an eating disorder, he, like, immediately phones Nick and tells him exactly what I just said, that he feels like his parents will think he's making it up. And he just breaks down crying because he feels like he has no one to talk to while Nick is gone. And Nick doesn't really have good Wi-Fi at his resort, so yeah, Charlie feels all alone in this situation and feels like he has to force himself to eat even though he can't. So yeah, I think we all have felt alone at times. You're never truly alone, but I definitely understand how you can't tell some people things because you don't know how they'll react, or you don't know if, like, they'll get it, because, yeah. Unfortunately, it's like a psychological thing, because, all you have to do is try and tell people, I don't really know what else to say. So when Nick comes back from his holiday, I just want to quickly mention how happy they are to be reunited. So Charlie is planning Nick's birthday, because it's Nick's birthday coming up. But he's got really low energy because he's not eating and not talking to anyone, so yeah. He did almost tell Mr. Ajayi about it, but, like, he just couldn't. He told him that he feels like there's rules about food in his head, and he doesn't know what will happen if he breaks those rules. Yeah. But I'm not going to talk about that here, because I want to keep the video as short as possible. But yeah, so he's planning Nick's birthday, blah, blah, blah. He wants it all to be absolutely perfect, and he keeps unwrapping and rewrapping Nick's present so that it looks perfect. And I do want to quickly mention, this happens later on, but Nick actually does comment on how neatly the wrapping is, so that's how many times he rewrapped it. So perfectionism kind of is a bad thing, really, because not everything can be absolutely perfect, So that is kind of a problem as well. So that's another psychological thing he has. But we'll get there when we get there. He also, because they go to the zoo for Nick's birthday, he doesn't want to be in any of the photos or selfies they take, though. He's the one with the camera. I noticed that. Even though Tao is the photographer in the group, he's the one that takes all the photos because he doesn't want to be in them. Ooh, why is this hitting so hard? And then he also keeps, having to sit down. And he also keeps stimming as well, by the way. And as someone that is literally stimming right now, I can tell you for sure that was really relatable to me. So after they get home, like, Charlie, like, you know, lets Nick open his presents, blah, 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 blah. So after he wakes up, Nick decides that this is the safe place and right time to talk about Charlie's eating disorder and how he needs to get help. So I'll talk about, I don't quite remember what Nick said, but I'll talk about that in next video. He basically said that, you know, he wants Charlie to talk about his eating disorder and get help. And you can see on Charlie's face that he is kind of annoyed at first because he really doesn't want to talk about it or bother people with it. But once Nick finishes talking, Charlie just breaks down and cries on him and apologizes because, you know, Charlie always apologizes for everything. So this is when Nick helps Charlie to write a letter to his parents about his eating disorder. And Charlie agrees. They write his parents a letter, and he reads it to them when he goes home. And that was really sad as well. The letter just basically said that he struggles to eat and his mental health's been really low. And his parents actually do get emotional as well, which, you know, was surprising because I actually kind of thought they didn't have any emotions, to be real. I mean, his dad's really good. I like his dad. His mom is not so much. So the next day, they make Charlie an appointment to see his GP and like talk about what's wrong with him. And then he gets an appointment with a specialist, but it's not for another 3 months because, you know, the NHS waiting lists aren't that great right now. I understand why they're really bad, but yeah, we kind of have to sort that out, really. But because of that, Charlie's mental health gets even worse, and I talked about this in season 2, but all I'm going to say is that he relapsed. If you know, you know. That's all I'm going to say on that. So that's making everyone extra worried now, and there's even a scene when, like, because he starts skipping school and taking his anger out on everyone, and even when people are trying to help him and help him eat, he just yells at them because, you know, he's in such a bad state right now. And like I said in my ranking, this is my favorite episode of the whole series and always will be. So, oh, hang on. So Charlie's just in the art room after, like, he relapsed, and Nick, like, just sits beside him, just comforts him, and all Charlie can say is that he's sorry, and then, oh, this is so sad, so I'm sorry. He like, just breaks down, and, like, uncontrollably, because he doesn't know what to do now, you know? He's in a position now where, you know, all he can think about is doing that, and, like, ignoring all of his meals, and it's like, he's in a horrible place right now. He does have his, like, up days, but it's always just a mask, you know? I think we all mask our, like, depression a little sometimes. But, yeah, I definitely, like, understand where he's coming from here, unfortunately. So, Charlie's relapsing gets so bad that to the point where, like, he has to go to, like, the hospital. So, because it was, like, yeah. So, that's when he has to go to a mental hospital for a while to deal with, all of this, you know. Oh, I'm sorry. This is one of the saddest parts in the whole series. It really is. It probably is the saddest part, but it did help him, but I'm getting ahead of myself here. So, he ends up having to go to therapy as well with Jeff. Shout out to Jeff. He's a great therapist. He's not real. And he also has help from a woman called Susan as well. And he even has to still do schoolwork, which is funny. But he actually ends up getting better, you know. He's not magically better, obviously, because he'll never be magically better from something like this. But it does help him a lot, you know. Despite the fact that everyone else was worried, but we'll get there when we get there, don't worry. But yeah, I do think that Charlie needed this. Like, he really did. Like, you can see in his face every, like, for the montage that his, like, you know, what's the word? Mental health is getting better thanks to the therapy. And he gets diagnosed with anorexia and OCD, which is where the perfectionism comes from. So yeah, I think it definitely was a great thing. So like I said, Charlie gets home at Christmas, and all of his family come over because it's Christmas for Christmas dinner. And I just want to say real quick, if, like, my child had gone through all of this and they just got home, I would not be having anyone over on Christmas. Like, absolutely not. No way. Sorry, but that's just my opinion. I mean, the families stick together and all that, but still. Anyway, so, you want to know what the first thing they say to him when they walk in the door? Why are you so skinny? I thought you were getting that fixed. Are you kidding me? Like, are you really kidding me? Like, I know the whole, like, generation thing, but, like, you don't make comments on people's weight, like, ever. Like, I really, this triggers me, like, making comments on people's weight. I don't like it. But it doesn't end there. Oh, don't you worry. So his cousins keep making jokes about him being gay and asking when he realized he was gay. And I'm like, why are you asking him this? Like, I'm like, what? Don't do that. Like, that's, like, ridiculous. I don't know why you're doing that. And here comes the kicker. So after they finish Christmas dinner, his family, one of his uncles is like, I'm so glad you could be out of that hospital, Charlie. You hear all those horror stories with straitjackets and all the crazy people. Did you see any crazy people? It's like, oh my god, shut up. Like, I definitely know about this. People with mental health, right, who don't, and then other people who are in their families that don't understand anything about mental health whatsoever, just say things because they want to, and it's so ridiculous. Like, just shut up. I would have said shut up if I was there. And I guess to the point where Charlie actually has to go to his mum because he feels frustrated and upset. And you know what his mum says? Oh, just ignore them. Please be his mum and tell your family, right, to shut the fuck up. God. Sorry, I'm getting annoyed because, for two reasons, but I'm not going to talk about the second reason, but this is annoying. And even then, Charlie's saying that he doesn't want to have to put up with this, and then, guess what his mum says? She says, how about you have a snack? You didn't eat much of your dinner. It's like, love, you're making it worse. You're making it worse. And then he even says that to her, and then she just storms off like, oh, well, I'm sorry I tried to help then. So, yeah, I think we can all be there where our mental health has been dismissed just because it's family. And it's like, that doesn't matter. They're making me feel awful. Please do something about it. And then he decides to go to Nick's because he can't deal with his family. But even Tori's upset with this because Tori doesn't want to have to deal with their family by herself, which I do understand, but I think Charlie did the right thing leaving, especially for what I'm about to talk about. So, when Charlie arrives at Nick's, he's, like, soaking wet because it rained. Of course it did. And Nick just cuddles him, but then Nick's family show up. Like, they're already there, obviously, but they show up to the door, and they're like, oh my god, hi, are you Nick's boyfriend? Are you gonna come in? We don't bite, promise. And he has such a better time with them than he did with his own family, because he even eats, by the way. So, there you go. He feels safe enough to eat around them. He gets along with them. He gets to meet Nick's new dog, what's it called, Henry. I am going to quickly talk about this, though. There is, one part when, like, Nick has to give him some dry clothes, but he doesn't want to change in front of Nick, so Nick turns around, so he's too ashamed of his body right now, like, which is understandable, I relate to that, for the opposite reason, though. But yeah, my point here is that Charlie has found his soul family, like, because, sure, like, the Springs and whatever his mum's last name is are his birth family, but the Nelsons are absolutely his soul family, like, Nick's aunt and uncle are so nice to him, like, Nick's cousins are nice to him, everyone just loves Charlie, it's amazing, and they don't talk about him being mentally ill, they don't bring up his mental health, they just treat him like Charlie, which is exactly what he wanted, so that's amazing. I'm sure so many people have related to that, though, where they can't speak to their own family, but with, like, their partner's family, they feel like it's a whole different situation. So, yeah, that's really good as well. That's really amazing. I'm so glad that Alice wrote this. I really am. I should mention, though, that Tori does come for him, saying, like, that she had to fend off their cousins by herself. And, Charlie does feel a little bit bad, and, like, Nick and Tori do say that, like, they want to be there for him and that he's not a burden on them. So Charlie does go home and he plays Mario Kart with Tori and their little cousin Oliver. So yeah. And then there's New Year, but where he sees all his friends again for the first time, but I'm not going to talk about that because that's more plot again. So a few months later, Charlie does have a couple of relapses, but that's okay. They're totally normal. Like, unfortunately, relapses are going to happen, like, with people that have mental health, problems, but I need to remember to say mental health problems, because everyone has mental health, like, that's everyone, even if it's good mental health, so, but anyway, so, yeah, he does have, like, a couple relapses, and he still struggles to eat sometimes, but that's okay. He's still going to see Jeff, though, for his therapy, so that's really good. But it starts to get to a point, right, not as bad mental health, but Charlie starts to realize that, he's ready to take things to the next level with Nick, because I don't know if I mentioned this, but they haven't done it yet, if you know what I mean. He does ask his friends about it, because his friend Tao has done it with Elle at this point, but, like, It's different for everyone. And also, he's really scared to take his shirt off in front of Nick because he doesn't want Nick to think he looks disgusting or not, you know. He doesn't think Nick will, but, you know, that's the thing about anxiety. You know the thing is most likely not true, but there's the voices in your head that tell you that it's true. So, even though he knows that Nick won't find him disgusting, the voices in his head tell him that he will find him disgusting. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. Definitely relate to that. But yeah, at Charlie's birthday, Charlie gets drunk, like really drunk, and this is when he just comes out with it that he wants to sleep with Nick, and that's quite funny. Nick actually doesn't do anything because Charlie's like, let's go, but I just want to say this. This is my opinion. If someone is drunk and you're not drunk, and they say yes, then that is taking advantage of them because they're not in a state where they know what they're saying. So make of that what you will. But Nick's a good boy and he doesn't do that, so we're fine. Tara also has a panic attack, which we'll get to eventually. And because Charlie's, you know, had so many of them, he actually is able to help Tara with breathing exercises, so that's really good. I really love that. I think Charlie should be a therapist, to be honest. I mean, I feel like a lot of people that have bad mental health can actually help people with bad mental health. I feel like that about myself sometimes. I don't know. So after a while, they actually do try to have their first time, but they keep getting interrupted. You know, by Charlie's parents, by Nick's brother, by Nick's dogs. It's actually quite funny, actually. And okay, I will admit I've never done that with anyone, and I never will. But I understand where they're coming from because like constantly getting interrupted by people, like it's a bit annoying to be fair. So that's when they decide that they should have a sleepover so they can do their first time. So Charlie asks his mom if he can sleep over at Nick's. I feel like deep down she knows why. But this will be their first proper sleepover, just them two. And she's like, well, eventually, but I don't think you should right now because you have to deal with your GCSEs and it's a big step. And then okay, to be fair, I do actually kind of think Charlie is a little tiny bit out of order here, but I do understand where he's coming from, and I'm sure many people can as well. He takes this as an attack that she's trying to say that he's mentally ill still, and that he can't take care of himself, and that he'll do what he wants. So he gets angry at her, and then storms out of the house to go see Nick. Again, I understand why he thinks that, because I think a lot of people think that everyone treads eggshells around them just because of their mental health, and that's not quite what she said, to be fair. So I will give her a pass on this one, but like I do think that Charlie kind of overreacted a little bit. Okay, so I'm not gonna talk about the scene a lot because this is it's one of my favorite scenes in the show, but not for the reason I'm about to say. So Charlie goes over to Nick's house, and you know he tells them what happened. Nick also vents to him a little, but we're not gonna talk about that here because that's about Nick. And that's when they have their first time. They only do hand stuff, by the way, but, it still counts. Charlie doesn't take his shirt off, though, but that's okay. And I also just want to say, Nick always is constantly asking Charlie if what he's doing is okay. I love Nick so much. Why can't more men be like Nick? The world would be perfect if every man on the planet was like Nick. Honestly. So yeah, they had their first time, and they felt awkward at it, but they felt like they had to practice. I mean, it was both of their very first times ever, so yeah. And then, like, Nick's mom doesn't walk in on them, but she walks in the house, and then they start to panic, and Charlie, like, really panics and gets up and puts his clothes back on, and then that's when he goes home. And this is where he makes up with his mom, but again, I think I'm going into more plot stuff now, so the TLDR is that his mom says that he can sleep over after his GCSEs, sorry. Okay, so Nick and the girls are looking at universities because they're going to university next year. So while they're gone, Charlie decides to join Sahar's band as their drummer because they need a drummer and Charlie plays the drums. He's never been part of a band before, so that's really cool. But he also, gets asked by, Mr. Ajayi if, he wants to be head boy at Truum. At first he's like, ooh, I don't know about that. But then Mr. Farouk says that, like, there's a lot of boys in the school that would look up to him as the head boy. And I think he does take that in, because this is when he, like, is like, oh, okay. I will quickly say, though, Mr. Farouk's actually talking about himself, because he has, like, a flashback of when he was at Truum, and how he had no one to talk to about his repressed sexuality. So, yeah, that's amazing. So, yeah, Charlie actually does fill in the letter. He hasn't still decided yet. But skipping ahead to the yeah, to the fate. So this is where Charlie's performance is, and I feel really good about Charlie here because he actually goes with a short sleeve shirt on, and because he most of the time he only wore long sleeves or jumpers, and he actually went with short sleeves on in front of everyone, which is amazing. I relate to that so much because I used to wear long sleeves all the time because I was just that insecure about myself. But actually, it was Heartstopper that made me feel a little bit more confident in myself, funnily enough, and now I don't wear long sleeves hardly ever. I do when it's cold still, but that's a different story. So, definitely understand that part. But then there's a part when, I'm going to talk about more of this in Tori's video, but Tori's talking about her relationship with Michael and how, like, the only person she actually cares about is Charlie. But Charlie tells her that it's okay for her to care about someone else now, because Charlie's okay now. He's always going to have his bad days, but he'll be okay now, and Tori can give her love to other people now. You know, it's not romantic love, but you know what I mean. Okay, so, this is a bit of like, this one is more of like a show not tell, because I had to like pick this one up myself, but, so, Charlie's about to perform on the bend, and he's really nervous, and Nick is not back yet because he's stuck in traffic with the girls, but he decides to just go for it, you know? And this is when he finally realizes that he can do stuff without Nick, you know? Like, because he's always felt like he has no confidence in himself, but like Jeff pointed out, he's the one that first told Nick that he was in love with him. He was the one that first asked Nick to, sorry, I banged that. He was the one that first asked Nick to kiss him, and, you know, he was, like, the one that initiated it. Like, he's got more, like Jeff said, he's got more self-confidence than he thinks, and this is the best example of that. So, he performs at the bend, and then this is when he realizes that he can do stuff on his own without Nick. Like, he can be his own person without Nick. Like, Nick's still struggling with that, but we'll get into that eventually. So, yeah, even though Nick's not there for, like, till the end, Charlie has so much fun, and he's so confident in himself. And then Nick arrives just before they finish, and wow. He got to see his boyfriend perform, and he was so proud of him. And he even managed to eat a burger while they were there, so that was amazing. And this is when he and Nick go to have their sleepover, but before they get into bed, Charlie asks Nick to take his shirt off, and even though he's still nervous and he's still afraid that Nick will find his body ugly, Nick doesn't do that. Nick says that he's so fucking hot. His words, not mine. And then that's when they do it again. So the next part actually doesn't happen in the show for some reason. I'm quite a bit sad that they cut this bit out, but I kind of understand why, because I feel like Alice tried to make this feel more like a conclusion in case the show wasn't renewed, which technically it wasn't, but we are getting movies, so it's fine. But anyway, now we're going to go to the comics, because this only happened in the comics. So, this is when Nick tells Charlie that he wants to go to Leeds University, which is like 200 miles away. So they're going to be long distance. But Charlie also says that he's going to be head boy of Truum, and that he feels like after doing the band, he can do anything now. So the band really helped him, you know, really did. So I'm really glad about that. And he also says that, you know, if Nick wants to go to Leeds, then it's okay. Like, they'll be okay. I know what happens next, but that's where I'm going to end this video. So, yeah, I feel like a lot of people can relate to Charlie a lot in this scene, you know, where their confidence is really up and they feel like they can do anything. Like, they'll always have bad days, but their good days will get more common, you know? Well, yeah. So, yeah, that's my Charlie Spring videos for now. There is going to be a part 4, 1000%, but I'm going to have to wait until either the comics finish or the movie comes out. So, well, yeah, we'll have to wait for that. But I really enjoyed this. It was fun, and I'm so glad that I managed to record them much shorter now. I feel like there were a couple times in this one where I did talk more about the plot than Charlie's character, but I wasn't as bad as the last time, and it was much more easier to record. Well, kind of, because my PC's very old now, and I am saving up for a new one. But next time we'll be doing Nick. I'm so excited. I have a lot more to say about Nick than I do with Charlie, so next videos might still be long. But let me know how you relate to Charlie in the comments down below. Even if you don't really find him the most relatable character, let me know who you do find the most relatable character. And I'll see you next time. Bye!